On the ancient Silk Road, surviving the brutal, sun-baked desert meant finding shade and water before your body gave out. For centuries, Bukhara relied on a network of stone pools called a house to supply the city. Most were paved over by Soviet authorities, citing public health concerns, making Liabi House a rare, fully intact survivor. Looking at this diagram, we see the anatomy of the oasis. The stone-stepped reservoir works together with the dense canopy of century-old trees to create a genuine physical drop in temperature. The mastermind behind this urban engineering was Nadir Divanbegi, the powerful financial minister of the 17th century Bukhara Khanate. He designed this square as a highly functional machine. It provided a desperately needed thermal and social anchor for a parched city. In the calm of the early morning, the layout of the square reveals its intent. Let's look at the western edge. This building is the Khanqa. It was built specifically as a monastery and lodging house for Sufi mystics seeking a dedicated space for deep spiritual retreat. The architecture dictates the behavior inside. The thick, monumental brick walls and the heavy dome are engineered to block out the chaos of the city and foster total silence. This deliberate restraint aligns perfectly with traditional expectations for 17th century Islamic architecture. The space demands a strict, serious reverence. This quiet monastery establishes a solemn baseline for the square, and that baseline is completely shattered by the building sitting directly across the water. As the sun shifts into the late afternoon, the golden hour light hits the eastern side of the pool, illuminating the Nadir Divanbegi Madrasa. Compared to the subdued brick of the Khanqa, this facade is incredibly loud, covered entirely in vivid, intensely colored mosaic tilework. Look closely at this mosaic. Traditional Islamic architecture forbade depicting animals, yet this portal features giant simurgh birds grasping white deer. The defiance goes further. At the apex of the arch, there is a blazing sun with a distinct human face. This presents a massive historical contradiction. Why is blatantly secular, taboo-breaking artwork plastered across the front of an Islamic school, staring directly at a solemn monastery? The answer is that Vizier Nadir Divanbegi never actually intended to build a school. His original blueprint was for a caravanserai, a bustling, highly commercial hotel for Silk Road merchants. The twist happened right at the opening ceremony. The ruler, Imam Quli Khan, stood before the crowd and accidentally praised the beautiful new building as a madrasa. Because an absolute monarch cannot be corrected, the vizier had to instantly abandon his hotel enterprise. The interior layout was rapidly modified to accommodate students instead of merchants. As a result, the building retains the internal structure of a commercial lodge, while proudly displaying the secular artwork designed to attract wealthy traders. The defining architectural dynamic of the square is the direct result of a frantic pivot to cover up a verbal slip by a king. As night falls, the square undergoes its final transformation. Lights illuminate the stone, reflections paint the dark water, and the atmosphere shifts from historical study to a deeply sensory experience. Sitting exactly between the monastery and the school is the square's final resident, a bronze statue of the legendary folkloric wise fool, Khoja Nasruddin. Riding his donkey with a wave, his presence injects a much-needed dose of humor and everyday humanity into the space, bridging the tension between the two opposing buildings. Today, the square refuses to act like a frozen museum. Live musicians and local life still echo through the tiled courtyards of the madrasa, maintaining its role as an active cultural stage. For centuries later, this accidental masterpiece remains a vital, functioning heart for the city. It fulfills its original purpose as a social and physical oasis where people continue to stop, gather, and breathe.